Hi there, this is going to be a quick video demo on how to install and use the Polyhaven Asset Browser add-on. The first step to install an add-on is to go to your preferences, and then in the add-ons tab, just click install and locate the zip file that you downloaded. Click install, and now you can enable it. The first step to use this add-on, as you'll see if you drop this arrow down here and see there's a warning here, the first step is to choose where you would like to download all of our assets. This can be anywhere you like on any hard drive, and you simply need to go to the File Paths tab in your preferences and create a new asset library. Whoops. Just create a new asset library anywhere you like. I'm going to create it over here. I'm going to make a new folder called PH Assets and add the asset library. Now you'll need to name this asset library exactly Polyhaven, and you can do that over here, just like that. And then don't forget to save your preferences. I believe by default Blender will automatically save your preferences, but I have it set to be manual, so I can just click save, and there we go. Now you'll find if we go to the asset browser editor, we have a new asset library called Polyhaven, and currently it is empty. So all we need to do is click this fetch assets button, and it's going to fetch all 1000 plus of our assets. If you don't want to download all of the assets, you can just download the HDRIs or just the textures or just the models. I'm going to just download all of them, and it's going to download in the background, and it may take a few minutes. Currently there's over 1000 assets, which is around 3.5 gigabytes. And for me, that's going to take about 5 minutes to download. If at any point you feel like stopping the download and doing something else, you're welcome to keep using Blender in the background. It's not going to be affected. Or you can simply click the cancel button, and it's going to cancel the download, give you a little list of what was in progress, but don't worry about that. You can simply go back and click Fetch Assets again, and it's going to pick up where it left off. All right, and once it's finished downloading, you'll see all of the assets are now available in the asset browser. However, on the first time you do this, it's not going to update the category list on the left-hand side, which makes it much more easy to find what you're looking for. So we first need to restart Blender. We'll just close it and open up Blender again. And there we go. Now you'll see there are different categories and subcategories to help you find what you're looking for. Now just a note, if the download didn't work for you the first time, if you got any connection errors, just check the product page. A documentation link is available here, and you can check there is a troubleshooting guide to help you debug any errors you might be receiving. All right, so to use any of the assets, the HDRIs are fairly straightforward. You can simply drag and drop them into your 3D view. It's not going to look like anything has changed, but if we change to the material preview and select the scene world, you see now it has loaded the HDRI that we're going to be rendering with. And you can simply drag and drop, and it's going to update pretty much instantaneously. Now by default, all of our assets are going to be at the lowest resolution we have available, which is 1K. If you want to increase the resolution, we usually have HDRIs up to at least 16K, sometimes up to 20K or 24K. And to change the resolution, just click the little drop-down arrow here, which is under the world settings for HDRIs, and you can choose a higher resolution. Once you click that button, it's going to start downloading the file, which for HDRIs can be fairly big. Again, if you change your mind, you can simply cancel it here. I'm going to let it finish. It might take, there we go, it's done. It might take a few seconds for larger files. HDRIs in particular can be quite big. And there we go. Now you can see there is a check mark next to 8K. That indicates the file is available locally. We don't need to download it, and we can switch to it anytime. All right. For models, it's a similar story. We simply drag and drop the models into our scene. What I would recommend is let's first add a plane, and then turning on snapping up here, and selecting face snapping and snap with center. With these settings, you can simply drag and drop models onto any surface, and it's going to snap them onto that surface. And this will work for any other surfaces too, such as other assets, not just the ground plane or something like that. So we can drag that up there, and there we go. If you don't like the look of these giant lines, it's an empty, you can simply go to the empty settings here and change the scale all the way down, and then you won't see the lines. There we go. If you ever want to change anything on the model, such as editing the geometry or the UVs, you first need to make it real. objects or models are dragged in as collection instances, and that means you can't actually edit them directly. You first need to press Control A and then say make instances real, and then you can go and edit the model to your heart's content. Now, just like HDRI's models, you can change the resolution, but instead of in the HDRI world settings, just you use the object settings, and you can see there's a resolution drop down here. Select a different resolution, and it's going to download the files it requires. For materials, it's about the same thing. Textures, just drag and drop it into your scene onto a mesh surface like the plane that we added here, and it's going to assign this material to the surface. Now, by default, well, I should say all of our materials here are various different real-world scales. We have some aerial scans that are sometimes around 50 meters wide, while most of them, such as these brick walls, should be around 2 meters wide. Now, this plane over here, you can see the dimensions are actually around 20 meters. So if I drag this brick texture onto here, that's going to make these bricks a little bit too big. And rather than fiddling with texture scales and mapping nodes and UVs ourselves, I made a little button in this panel over here. So in the material settings, here's that resolution switch if you want to increase the resolution again for materials. And here there is a simple fix texture scale button. And that's going to analyze the surface area of whatever models that this material is assigned to. And it's going to correct the mapping node to be the correct scale. And now these bricks are about the right scale. You can see this texture was scanned at around 2.5 meters square. So that seems to be about the right scale for this material. Now, the other thing our materials are all designed to do is to work with real geometry displacement with adaptive subdivision. So you'll see if I drag and drop one of these textures, maybe a brick texture, let's say this guy, onto our material, and we'll just fix the scale again. You'll see if we go into rendered view that this plane is in fact still a flat piece of geometry. There's no actual geometry displacement here. Now, from a distance, this looks okay, but we design our materials to work with displacement so that they can be zoomed in and appear up close to the camera. So to fix that, rather than editing all the render settings yourself, you can simply click this button over here to set up displacement. And that's going to change the render settings and the material settings to make sure that there is actual geometry displacement. And you'll see now that these bricks it's subdividing the plane to add new geometry to displace the bricks upwards, which looks much more realistic. All right, that's about everything I have to share with you. Thanks again for your support, and I'll see you around.